Ooh, enemy of the state.
Paintball fit! Paintball fit! Paintball fit! Let's go! Let's go!
Hey everybody, I'm Paintball Dad. Thanks for tuning into my channel, and today I'm going to take you with me to Florida so you can see how my trip to the 2024 NXL World Cup went. So the World Cup went from November 7th through the 11th. I myself didn't start driving down until the 7th because I didn't have to start playing until the 9th. And luckily I live in South Carolina, so I'm not too far from Florida. Including pit stops, it only took me about 8 to 8.5 hours to get there. And we had left a little bit later than expected. I had worked the night before, so I didn't get home the previous night until about 11 p.m. Originally, I had wanted to leave my house at like 7 a.m., but that clearly wasn't going to happen. I think we actually left the house at around 9:30 and then got to our hotel in Florida at around like 5 to 6. So unfortunately, by that time, everything was kind of shutting down at the NXL venue. So all we did was just check into the hotel and then kind of chill for the rest of the night. Then the next morning, we head over to the venue early so I can get my player ID. And then we did my favorite thing for the rest of the day, which is go around and check out all of the vendors at the venue. I love walking into all of the stores and seeing what everybody is selling at the NXL World Cup. I often feel kind of deprived because I grew up in a town where there actually was a paintball store. And generally speaking, in New Jersey, there's just a lot of paintball fields and paintball stores. But now in South Carolina, there's actually no independent paintball stores. Luckily, my home field does have a small store in it, which is Palmetto Hills Paintball in Rock Hill, South Carolina. But that's the closest store to me, and it's about an hour away from where I live. So this is something that I miss throughout the year, and this is something that I really look forward to, going down to Cup and seeing all of these stores. I love just walking through them and touching all of the paintball products, getting to feel the jerseys and the masks. And I especially love seeing all the independent vendors too. The guys like Enemy of the State, Social Paintball, Trade My Gun. Actually, I got really lucky, and when I went into the Trade My Gun tent, it turned out some of my old friends from New Jersey were actually working the booth. And so they hooked me up with some free merchandise, and then I spent some time catching up with them. And another big highlight was Paintballers, the video game, was there. So both my sons got some time to play. But now in my opinion, I think there was actually less vendors this year than in previous years. There were two big attractions that I didn't see this time around. One of them was Gel Blaster. In previous years, whenever I went to World Cup, Gel Blaster was there, and they would have a little arena set up with bunkers for kids to play Gel Blaster, kind of like how everybody else is playing paintball. So me and my kids were both disappointed that Gel Blaster wasn't there this year. Also, the Paintball History Museum. I remember last year I walked into their booth, and it was really cool because they had like all kinds of retro paintball products, from DVDs to video games to old guns, old masks. And I remember last year as we were walking out, my wife asked me, "Why don't you buy anything?" And I said to her, you know what? I had just assumed everything there was for display purposes only. So I told myself next time I'm gonna actually go there and buy something, but they weren't there this time. I also watched a lot of the games that were going on, specifically the semi-pro games. For me, I feel like the semi-pro division has been the most entertaining division this season. Now, I might be biased because at the end of every season, a pro team gets relegated and a semi-pro team gets promoted to be pro for next season. And this season, the Northeastern teams have been dominating the semi-pro division. Specifically, New Jersey Leverage and New York Wrecking Crew have been two of the top contenders for the next pro spot. And now if you haven't been keeping up with the games, New Jersey Leverage actually did win the next pro division slot. And so I can't wait to get a New Jersey Leverage jersey for myself. I actually have a jersey from a previous pro team that was out of New Jersey called New Jersey Authority. They didn't last for very long. I think the only reason they were even created was because this was back in the days of the NPPL and the PSP, and these two leagues had like a kind of competition against each other, where they had the pro teams sign on to a specific league. So like if a team was playing in the NPPL, they couldn't play in the PSP, and vice versa. And so I think the Russian Legion was signed into the PSP, and then they created a New Jersey Authority so they can play in the NPPL. But it only lasted for like a year or two. I have much higher hopes for New Jersey Leverage to be in it for the long haul. Because number one, they've been a team for a good while, and I love the fact that one of their players, Chris Caputo, left a pro team to go back to New Jersey Leverage. Because that right there shows a lot of commitment, a lot of dedication, loyalty, and that gives me confidence that the team is going to be around for quite a while. Now, after watching some games, we left the venue and then went over to the team house. This is another pretty cool experience. What a lot of paintball teams do is that they'll go down and they'll get a house together, like an Airbnb, and these houses are usually pretty gaudy. or luxurious. I don't know if anybody says gaudy anymore. Now, the past couple times that I've been down to World Cup, I actually did not pay to stay at the team house. I did for my first time, but then I realized that if I'm going to bring my wife and my kids, we need our own space. But I'll always make a stop at the team house to hang out with the guys and also to go over some important team stuff, like talking about our game plan for the next day and just doing stuff together to kind of gel. I actually really appreciated that they were willing to watch the movie Splat with me. It's one of those old paintball classics that a lot of people don't know about. Alright, now to talk about how things went for us actually playing at World Cup. Long story short, we did not perform well at all. And I'm sure there's a lot of factors that went into that. For one, we were a team that was put together pretty quickly. We only had about 3 or 4 weekends of practice together. And to be fair, there was a pretty wide range of skills among us. We were playing in Division 5, but a couple of our players were Division 6, and I was Division 4. So there's a pretty big gap between all of us. And I think the majority of our players had actually never been to an NXL event before, and so I think that kind of also mentally put a lot of pressure on them. But this is something that I'm going to try to learn from and try to grow from. And despite the poor outcome, I am still really glad that I went down to World Cup. If you watched my video where I was going through my gear bag before World Cup, you'll know that I had a crazy 2024. I went into a ton of debt trying to fix a house that kept falling apart around me, and then eventually I just had to sell it. Although I didn't sell it for nearly as much as I really wanted to. And then I also had a lot of car trouble this year as well. So financially and emotionally, I just had a lot of things go wrong this year. And I said to myself, I want to do something to make myself feel like I am in control, that I can still have fun despite all of the setbacks. So yeah, I am glad that I was able to go to World Cup. And I do have to give a huge shout out to my sponsors. Lone Paintball has been a huge help in giving me the opportunity to make affiliate sales. So anybody who's bought a barrel kit from Lone PB, thank you. You've actually helped me to go to World Cup this year. I also raised some money by doing photography throughout the year as well. And Palmetto Hills Paintball was a huge help as well in getting us a paint deal. So I had about like 75% of my expenses covered by sponsors, which is wild for being only a Division 4 player. Now after playing, I did some more walking around the venue, and I got to meet some famous people in the paintball world. I met another YouTuber who goes by the name of MVP Paintball, and he was a pretty cool guy. He gave my son some stickers. I met up with Matt the Gym Rat, and I'm pretty lucky that my home field is actually really close to where he lives, so I do see him pretty regularly, but this is the first time I got my son to meet him, and I think this really helped to pique his interest in paintball, because even though he likes paintball, I think he's more fascinated by the idea of meeting a famous YouTuber. And then while I was there, a friend of mine asked me to pick him up a Dynasty jersey. And so I went over to the Dynasty booth and I picked up a Ryan Greenspan jersey, and right as I was buying it, Ryan Greenspan himself actually shows up and signs the jersey. And then me and my son got to meet Marcello Margot, and yes, it is pronounced Marcello, not Marcelo. And I also took a picture with Thomas Taylor, which is like my annual goal every time I go down to Cup because he's my favorite player. And then for the last day, I just did some more walking around, shopping around, just enjoying the final moments of World Cup. And then I stuck around to see some of the podium finishers from the event. And Paintball Fit took first place, which has been a huge talking point because this is their rookie year in the pro division. And that about wraps up my experience at the 2024 NXL World Cup. It was a fun ride, I'm glad I got to go, and I really hope I get the chance to go again next year. Thanks guys for watching, thanks for the support throughout the year, and don't forget to like and subscribe.